Generally, people think education means to get degree or learning many subjects or languages. But the word education is derived from Latin word educare, which means to lead out or to draw out. Education is basically a social process which involves how the student develops as an individual and in group relations. The aim of education is to make human beings civilized. In the same way, the aim of higher education is to inculcate social responsibility among students. The present higher education system is lacking in this aspect, but the contemporary education system fails in the task to cultivate a balanced child. Indian higher education is at crossroads. Many problems are arising due to globalization and liberalization. Hence, our teaching faculty has to be trained to enrich the skills of teaching. Teaching is not mere by transferring the information to the students. It is something beyond that. Social services activities in colleges have to be increased to develop social responsibilities among students. Students should take interest in societal activities along with their studies, and in doing so, the teaching community also has a pivotal role to play. Tagore did not write any educational philosophy in particular. They are dispersed in his writings and educational experiments at Shantiniketan. He visualized nature as the real teacher, but associated to the cultures of the wider world, predicated upon pleasurable learning and individualized to the personality of the child. In Tagore's philosophy of education, the aesthetic development of the senses was as important as the intellectual. With his broad vision, Rabindranath foresaw the coming of the global village and the need to educate children in a way that roots them in their own cultural history, yet enables them to personally identify with other races and cultures. Gurudev argued that education should seek to develop sensitivity in a child through a direct experience of nature when her or his consciousness is at its freshest level. He recognized early childhood as the most critical time for developing empathy and the ability to connect with one's surroundings. Tagore's progressive educational philosophy is largely forgotten today. He wrote about many ideals for education, but his ideals have not found their way into Indian schools. According to Tagore, if we want to give proper education to the students, we should teach them well right from the beginning when they are very young. But in India, it is not like that, because the teachers who teach the students of primary schools are not well trained for the job. He wrote that they knew neither good English nor their mother tongue, and the only work they could do was mistreating students. Tagore was against the heavy load of books and bags students had to carry to the school. Tagore notices that at the very starting age of the life of a student, his or her parents keep a lot of burden of bags and books on his or her shoulders. He wrote, from childhood to adolescence and again from adolescence to manhood, we are coolies of the goddesses of learning, carrying loads of words on our folded backs. According to Tagore, it makes education joyless. He was in favor of easy education, that is, education through music, art, literature and nature, etc. He wrote that the books we read have no vivid pictures of our homes and our society. He also felt that our education is directing us to a land of enchanting falsehood. Let us discuss about the educational philosophy of Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi's educational experiments started at Tolstoy farm at Sabarmati and Sevagram ashrams. He undertook the responsibility of educating his own sons and other children as he occupied the place of a father. He helped the children in all-round development. Training of heart and building of character received his first attention. They were helped to build their physique through manual work. Learning by doing and cooperation were the means of gaining experiences for the children of age ranging from 6 to 16. In April 1935, he founded the Sevagram Ashram, 11 miles away from Wardha, where he conceived the idea of his new system of education. It was here he expounded the Wardha scheme. A practical shape was given to it in 1937. Mahatma Gandhi's important principles or tenets. The important tenets of his educational philosophy are as follows: free and compulsory primary education. Gandhiji envisaged 7 years free, compulsory and universal primary education up to matriculation minus English. In other words, he wanted to combine the present primary and secondary education into one called the Englishless matriculation. It should be free because India is a poor country and all the parents cannot afford the cost of education. It should be compulsory because majority of people do not realize the central value of education in life and do not send their wards to the school. Therefore, he wanted to make education compulsory for all so that the children may attend the school regularly rather than attending some other duties assigned by their ignorant and illiterate parents. Moreover, nobody would be denied to receive education up to 14 years of age. As such, it is universal in nature. Craft-centered education. Craft-centered education is not education plus crafts, but it is education through crafts. Craft is the nucleus of education. It is the center of entire teaching learning process. Education, in a sense, should be centered around some productive craft. It is this education through which all-round development of the child can be possible. He said it was his wish that the whole process of education should be imparted through some handicraft or industry. Further, he added that the handicraft should not be taught mechanically but scientifically, which implies that the child should know the why and wherefore of every process. For example, by teaching Takli spinning, knowledge of different varieties of cotton, the different soils in different pockets of India, the history of the decay of handicraft, and knowledge of arithmetic, etc. should be imparted. The craft should not be taught merely for production work, but for developing the intellect of the pupils. He outlined the following factors as regards to the selection of craft. It should be the center around which the different subjects can be clubbed. It should find natural point of correlation with important activities and interests. It must be according to the natural and social environment. It should be tied with the life of the children. It should meet the vocational needs of the child in the changing social order. Craft-centered education is significant on the following scores. It is psychologically sound as it relieves the child from the tyranny of purely academic, theoretical and monotonous instruction. It is a means of fostering the power of imagination and sharpening the intellect. It gives wide scope to children for self-expression by sublimation of their instincts. Moreover, the psychological needs of the children, that is, the need for affection, self-respect, creativeness, are fulfilled through craft-centered education. It is sociologically sound as the introduction of practical productive work can break down the hiatus between urban and rural life when it tends to infuse a sense of dignity of labor in the children. It breaks the existing wall of prejudice between manual and intellectual work. It brings a sense of cooperation, discipline, belongingness, tolerance and self-government in children. Economically, it is considered as sound as it increases the productive capacity of our workers and also enables them to utilize their leisure advantageously. It also helps in attaining the aim of self-supporting aspect of education. It is pedagogically sound since it gives reality to knowledge. It helps to bring correlation of knowledge with life and its various aspects. From the biological standpoint, it is sound as it provides opportunities for yearning while learning. Self-sufficiency. It implies that the child should be able to cover some part of his educational expenses by engaging himself in some productive works which would give him yearning along with learning. It also enables the child to earn a living after completing his course of education, preparing the child for future life. Secondly, education imparted in itself should be self-supporting to an extent that the productive work of the pupils would meet the expenses of the school, that is, the salaries of the teachers, expenditure on raw materials, and maintenance of equipment and furniture. Gandhiji realized that a poor nation like India that cannot provide education to all the pupils free of cost, which necessitates education to be self-supporting and self-sufficient. Emphasis on mother tongue. Gandhiji realized that the greatest handicap of the prevailing system of education was that learning was being imparted through the medium of English. This affected the development of understanding, precision of thought, and clarity of ideas. Mother tongue, on the contrary, would enable the children to understand clearly the rich heritage of people's ideas, emotions, and aspirations, to express freely, clearly, and lucidly in speaking and writing, to use the list of contents and the indices, and to consult dictionaries and reference books. Correlation as a method of teaching. It was envisaged that correlation should be the guiding principle of teaching all subjects. Different subjects are to be taught, making craft as the focal point of teaching learning process. Gandhiji wanted an effective and natural correlation between the craft and other subjects and the coordination of various subjects. For example, in geography teaching, it can be correlated with spinning through a threadbare discussion on nature of soil required for plantation of cotton, climatic condition, period of vegetation, etc. In language teaching, it can be done by stimulating people to write an essay on cotton. In science subject, pupils can be asked to make a nature study for the growth of cotton plants. Therefore, it is the starting point of teaching all other subjects, and it is the medium through which different subjects are to be taught effectively by means of correlation. Creed of nonviolence. A very outstanding feature of his educational philosophy was the application of the law of ahimsa in the training of the child as a prospective world citizen. He thought that non-violence was the panacea for all evils. He said, where the whole atmosphere is redolent with the pure fragrance of ahimsa, boys and girls studying together will have like brothers and sisters in freedom, and yet in self-imposed restraint. The students will be bound to the teachers in ties of filial love, mutual respects, and mutual trust. Ideal of citizenship. Gandhiji wanted to make children right type of citizens, endowed with civic sense, conscious of one's own duties and rights, responsibilities, and opportunities. This would be possible by his new indigenous system of education. Education should therefore be directed to conform to the standard of citizenship. The educational philosophy of Gigubhai. Gigubhai, a pioneer of pre-primary education in India, was born on 15th November 1885 in Gujarat. He became a pleader in the district court. He left this profession and joined Dakshin Murthy Vidyarthi Bhavan as a rector, and later became the headmaster of the Vinay Mandir High School. During this time, he observed students and teachers closely, but it was the world of little children that was beginning to intrigue and allure him. He finally resigned from the high school to start Bal Mandirs. Gigubhai's experiment in the area of child education was influenced by the writings of Madame Montessori, who was working in the same field about the same time. Gigubhai had an intense love for children. His philosophy is based on the following observations made by him. Heaven is in the happiness of the child. Heaven is in the health of the child. Heaven is in the pleasure of the child. Heaven is in the playful innocence of the child. Heaven is in the songs and humming of the child. The essence of Bal Mandir. The word Mandir has specific connotation of child worship. Gigubhai coined the slogan Baladev Baba, meaning worship of the child. The educational principles of Bal Mandir are: education should be child or learner centered. Child's sanctity should be kept intact. Healthy environment should be provided to the learner. There should be maximum involvement of the child in the teaching learning process. Child should learn in an environment which is full of love and understanding of the child. Child should learn by living. Child should learn by doing. Let us see about the educational philosophy of J. Krishnamurti, who stressed on freedom in learning situations. J. Krishnamurti, affectionately referred to as Krishna Ji, JK, etc., was a free thinker, though a product of Hindu theosophical tradition. In his essay, The Noisy Child and the Silent Mind, he states that children should open up and be aware of the great beauty in nature around them. Noisy children become silent when they are absorbed in doing something which is of high interest to them. Then there is perfect peace. Hence, education is the precept of taming the noisy mind by letting it in its own track, which is excited to see this or do that. Education, like any other effort to make a whole man, should strive for inner peace and hence bliss. Education and discipline. True learning should promote independent thinking in the individual, critically analyzing what is he seen, listened, or read in relation to his own personal experiences. True learning demands application and order. To learn, it is necessary to observe. To hear or to read, we have to pay attention, which is not compelled, not under any pressure or expectations or reward or punishment. This is called discipline. Discipline means to learn, not to conform, that is, not to act according to others' expectations, but to observe those in which one is interested and get absorbed in activities what one likes. Learning results from discipline. Education and attention. Attention is the prerequisite for learning. Attention is different from concentration. Concentration is to bring all our energy to focus on particular point. In attention, there is no such point of focus. When there is attention, there is no contradiction and therefore no conflict. Process of learning. Discontent is like a flame. In inquiry, satisfaction is not the goal. In fact, dissatisfaction triggers the inquiry. In studying, there may be exchange of thought and silent observation. Inquiry uncovers the light of intelligence. It is our responsibility that this flame of inquiry sharpening our intelligence is spread wherever we are, in school, home, or in government. Freedom and learning. Freedom in learning means that the learner has got the capacity to independently observe everything around him and examine all ideas without any pressure or compulsion. Freedom is that which is neither given nor any state that we desire to attain, but learn anything and at the same time not becoming a subscriber of it, though the inquiry related to it is continued. Freedom denotes the opposite of being imprisoned, capacity to go out or beyond anything. The school and its educational practices should provide adequate opportunities for students to independently observe and inquire everything around them: community, religion, subject content, etc., without the pressure of competition, examination, etc. Learning without competition. There should be no competition in learning. Competitions lead to fear, jealousy, fear of failure, violence, etc. On the contrary, learning with cooperation will be more effective. Every student should set his own goal based on his learning speed and individual abilities and progress towards the set goal devotedly with the cooperation of all others. Individual awakening and liberation. Every individual should have communion with other human beings who suffer, struggle and have great pain or the sorrow of poverty. By watching, perhaps we learn more than from books. Schools are there to gather knowledge and information about the world outside, world around us, nature, the social environment and economics. If individuals change for the better, the society will change. The essence of J. Krishnamurti's philosophy is change should come from within you, because you are the seed of change. Thus, J. Krishnamurti emphasized individual awakening and liberation through education. Dear viewers, in this lesson, we have seen so far on the progressive educational thought in the Indian context of philosophers Tagore, Gandhi, Gigubhai and J. Krishnamurti. Thank you.